दादा दादी नाना नानी को अपने बच्चों से ज्यादा प्यार अपने ग्रैंड चिल्ड्रन से होता है। इसी को लेकर एक बहुत फेमस एंड वाइडली यूज किया जाने वाला प्रोवर्ब है हिंदी में, मूल पैसे से उसका ब्याज ज्यादा अच्छा लगता है। एंड दिस इज ट्रू लिटरली ऑल्सो। You ask someone who is into money lending business, even banks, they all love earning interest on the money rather than the principal amount itself. चलो आज ऐसे ही एक प्रोग्राम कोड लिखते हैं which will calculate the interest amount, and with this program we will learn all about variables and constants in C. Here's the program we'll talk about today. कितना कॉम्प्लिकेटेड सा लग रहा है ना, बट ट्रस्ट मी है नहीं। आइए सबसे पहले समझते हैं इसके कंपोनेंट्स। Once you get to know them and their purpose, the whole program will seem like child's play. Let's start with understanding identifiers, जो आपकी स्क्रीन में अभी मार्क्ड हैं। An identifier is nothing but a unique name given to different types of C entities like constants, variables, functions, structures, etc. A few basic rules to give these names are: an identifier can be composed of lowercase letters, uppercase letters, digits and underscore. Remember, इनके अलावा और कुछ भी नहीं, not even a space. The first letter of identifier should be either a letter or an underscore, but it is discouraged to start an identifier name with an underscore, though it is legal. It is because identifier that starts with underscore can conflict with some system file name such as underscore file no, underscore iob, underscore wfopen. Keywords are not allowed to be kept as identifier names. Identifiers are also case sensitive in C. For example, amount and amount are two different identifiers in C. Same name cannot be kept twice as an identifier. So the identifier names have to be unique. अब दो बच्चों का नाम तो एक ही घर में सेम तो नहीं रखते ना। There is no rule for the length of an identifier, so जितना लंबा नाम रखना चाहो रख सकते हो।
What will be your name?
My name is Lakwaza was Lakwaza.
रख सकते हो, पर अगर मीनिंगफुल नेम होगा तो इट विल बी इजियर फॉर यू टू अंडरस्टैंड एंड वर्क ऑन, स्पेशली व्हेन द प्रोग्राम कोड इज लार्ज। अब जैसे इन आवर प्रोग्राम हियर, अमाउंट, रेट, काउंट टाइप, इंटरेस्ट आर आइडेंटिफायर्स व्हिच क्लियरली टेल्स अस व्हाट दीज नेम्स स्टैंड फॉर। वैसे डिपेंडिंग ऑन द ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम देयर मे बी अ प्रॉब्लम इफ द नेम इज लार्जर देन 31 कैरेक्टर्स, पर एनीवेज इतना लंबा नाम रखता ही कौन है?
Jesus.
Okay, now let's learn something about the different types of values that can be assigned, calculated or printed. That is, let's learn about data types. Basically, when you define what type of data is being referred to, the computer allocates that much memory space. नहीं समझ आया ना? चलो, let me explain. Broadly, data types are of two types in C, primary and derived. Primary data type means the data can either be int, float, char और void. अब इनके आगे दिया हुआ है कितनी मेमोरी असाइन होती है रिस्पेक्टिव केस में। फ्लोटिंग पॉइंट नंबर्स मतलब डेसिमल नंबर्स। हमारे इस प्रोग्राम में क्योंकि अमाउंट राउंड फिगर ही होना है, इसलिए वी डिफाइंड इट एज int. रेट or interest can be in decimals, so we define them as float type. And account type, क्योंकि saving type था, so we defined it as character S. But remember to write letter within single quotes. Please note that we have to write the data type before the identifier name. The derived data types are nothing but primary data types, a little twisted or grouped together like array, structure, union and pointer. Don't worry, we'll learn all about these in our later sessions. Now comes constants and variables. In simple terms, constants वो होते हैं जिनकी वैल्यू प्रोग्राम के अंदर कभी चेंज नहीं होती. There can be any types of constants like integer, float, characters, string, octal, hexadecimal, etc. Constants को define करने के लिए we have to add a keyword const before the data type, or we can also define it as preprocessor directive like this. A variable is a storage place which has some memory allocated to it. Basically, it is used to store some form of data. Unlike defining constant, no keyword is required to be written before the data type. अब हमारे प्रोग्राम में नोटिस करो कि we have written these two variables in different form. This is where we are defining the variable and assigning it a memory as it can have any value later in the program. And this is called a declared variable because we are not only defining the variable here, but also declaring a value before its first use. Let's see the operators used in C. Plus, minus, multiplication, division, remainder or a percentage, equal to, less than, greater than, ampersand, less than equal to, greater than equal to, double ampersand, double plus, and so on. We will be using them as our program become more complex. For now, we will be using only arithmetic operators, that is plus, minus, multiplication, division and remainder. Let's see what these are. These are called format specifiers. What they do is evident from their name. अरे भाई अच्छी तरह फॉर्मेट करते हैं जो भी हम प्रिंट करवाना चाहते हैं. In C बहुत सारे हैं ये वाले specifiers जैसे %C, %D, %T, %F, %G, %S, %O, %P and so on. But we will be using them as we go further in our complex programs. For now, we will be using %D जहाँ पर हमें इंटीजर टाइप प्रिंट करवाना है, %F जहाँ फ्लोट टाइप प्रिंट कराना है और %C जहाँ कैरेक्टर टाइप प्रिंट करना है. Now someone has to tell the computer कि जब ऐसे लिखा तो कौन सी वैल्यू प्रिंट करनी है. So here we tell it कि जो भी वैल्यू इस वेरिएबल में है उसे प्रिंट करना है. Same way, for this we tell it to take the float value of this and print it. ऐसे ही इनका और इनका. Now we must ensure that these and these are of same data types respectively. Let's now compile and run our program. Right now, it's giving so many places after decimal. तो हम इसे यहाँ और यहाँ लिख देंगे to get more user-friendly output like this. Voila! The programs run to really long lengths. Say, later in your program, you need to change the amount variable and then again calculate the interest. You can do it like this. Let's see the output. बहुत बढ़िया. Now suppose we wanted to change the rate of interest later in the program. We would probably write this. Oops! It will not work as I told you in the beginning that constants cannot be changed once defined in the program. Okay guys, today we learnt about what identifiers, data types, constants, variables, operators and format specifiers are. ये बेसिक्स हैं जो हमें बहुत यूज आएंगे और we would be learning in detail in our later sessions as and when the need arises. Hopefully आज का कंटेंट समझ आया होगा. In case of any doubts, please do write in the comment section below. Give the video a thumbs up and share among your student friends. Subscribe and press the bell icon for the latest videos. Bye bye.